Everything about our day-to-day life can often be related back to mathematics, from everything from deciding if we have enough money to purchase our lunch to being able to plot where the rockets we launch into outer space will be at any given moment. Despite all of these amazing and complex feats we can achieve, all of these things require math, and even to a certain degree basic math. However, this basic math didn't come from nowhere. Somebody had to figure out how to do it. And a lot of this basic math was discovered out by the ancient Egyptians. For instance, the earliest example of mathematics use in Egypt was approximately 3000 BC. These mathematical representations would often depict commodities such as oxen or slaves. This started out with basic mathematics along the lines of addition and subtraction. However, math was very scarce in the Old Kingdom because only the educated could actually use it and comprehend it. However, despite this, the Egyptians were relatively advanced in their mathematics. The first mathematical documents date back to 1800 BC. These were probably student textbooks. These had such complicated formulas such as fractions, multiplication, division, algebra, and geometry. They also depicted certain Egyptian numerals, such as numerals for 1, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, and a million. All of these things were also supplemented by the use of other numerals. The Egyptians were able to add and subtract fairly easily, despite their complex numeral system, which is nothing like we would recognize. They were able to add and subtract relatively easily because addition and subtraction is very easy to understand the quantitative results. You can see someone taking away and adding something. However, more complex math requires more higher-level thinking. Egyptians were also able to multiply and divide. For instance, Egyptian multiplication was essentially a binary form of multiplication. This was carried out by repeatedly doubling of the multiplicand and selecting which of the previous doubled numbers to add together. Then the multiplicand was written next to figure 1 and added onto itself. Then the solution of said addition problem was written next to the second number. This process was continued so the doublings gave a greater number than half of the multiplier. Subsequently, the doubled numbers would then be subtracted recurrently from the original multiplier to select which of the previous solutions to the calculations would be added together to obtain the final answer. However, there were some shortcuts to be able to get around some of this complex multiplication. Not all of it took as long as some of the more complex things did. Division was also along a similar line of thinking. For instance, one would divide by first doubling the divisor until the largest multiple of the divisor was reached, which was smaller than the value of the dividend. The last three parts of the dividend would then be added together and multiplied by the divisor to create and find a solution. Now, the reason for some of this mathematical complexity was because their system of number numerals was nothing like our system of Arabic numerals. These systems required the adding on of other numerals to create different numbers, while we have a set numeral for each specific number. However, despite their numeral system, it was quite apparent that the Egyptians had a very advanced understanding of mathematics. This would also be seen in their use of algebra. For instance, the Egyptians would use a method of false assumption to solve the algebraic formulas. This would be involved by substituting in a number for the unknown and assuming that the false answer would be proportional to the correct one. They also were able to do Euclidean geometry. They understood triangles, rectangles, circles, hemispheres, and volume of certain figures. However, it is important to note that they did not have a complete understanding of all of these figures, however. For instance, they would calculate various measurements of circles by approximating their sides with octagons. They did not have pi to get a more precise estimation and solution to the sides of circles. while the Egyptians didn't completely allow us to arrive at the level of mathematical comprehension we enjoy today, they sure have helped us get there. And so I think it's pretty fair to say that we can thank the ancient Egyptians for their contributions to modern society.